Hey guys, Reed here. What I want to talk about today is short hip flexors or tight hip flexors. Now don't get me wrong, they can truly be tight, they can truly be short, but sometimes we need to dive deeper because what the patient tells us is always right? Customer's always right, but sometimes we need to address, is it actually tight or are they just taut? And that might be a topic for another day. Maybe we'll show an assessment after this video, but sometimes we actually need to train those hip flexors, rectus femoris and psoas particularly, to be active and strong and smart in a shortened position. So lift-offs are a great way to address this. What we want to do is get into a straddle position, so I'm getting to about my end range, which believe it or not, that is about my end range, and then back that up to about 90 or 80% of that end range, taking a small object like a lacrosse ball, we're just going to place that underneath one of our heels, and I like to place a foam roller or get myself up against a wall so that I know that I'm staying upright through my torso, engaging my core. And then what I want to do is create tension along my whole body line, whether that's squeezing your hands together, holding up nice and tall, and actively try to lift that heel up and slowly over that ball. If that's becoming easy, we can do one of two things. Open up a little bit wider, so going closer to our end range and continue to do so, or just increase the size of the object that we're trying to go over. So again, backing off to about 80% of my total end range, which I know is crazy to believe. This is my end range. Creating that tension, making sure I'm not cheating by leaning back up against this foam roller, and slowly controlled up and over that ball. All right guys, so in that previous video with hip lift-offs in a straddle position, I kind of mentioned quickly a easy test that we can do to see whether we have truly tight or are they just taut hip flexors. Namely, again, we're talking rectus femoris and psoas muscles here. So my best for the price of free and time that it takes to do so is the Thomas test. What we want to do with this one is get on the end of a table, whether it's a chiro table, PT table, or even your dinner table, and then pull one knee all the way up in your chest. Keep that knee there as you just fall back onto your back, and if we see this where your hip is flexed a little bit, but the knee is still able to bend past 90 degrees, namely what I'd be going after there, what my mind's kind of leaning into, is that psoas muscle that sits up a little bit higher. Passively then, if we see this, as a clinician, I could start pushing down on their thigh, and if they're able to get to this position, that would tell me that that psoas muscle is just taut, right? So the shortening of those fibers is not happening because their capacity of range of motion is all the way down to here, okay? So that's looking at the psoas. If we're addressing the rec fem, you might see something like this where they pull that knee up into their chest and they drop back and they kind of do this, where that leg is fully straightened here. Passively as a clinician, I can try to push their knee into further flexion so they're getting to kind of 90 degrees here. And if I'm unable to do so, sure, it could be a truly tight rec fem, but if I'm able to push that to here, or at least ask them to go in this position, that's more than likely just a taut rectus femoris in that area. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.